Audience, welcome to Viewpoint from Overseas. This is your host Faraz Darvesh and the team from Silicon Valley. Related to Pakistan, the most important issue that is on the radar of Prime Minister Imran Khan's government is the Pakistan's economic situation, which many got concerned recently. The State Bank president has been replaced by Reza Baqir, who is a seasoned IMF economist, and he's going to now lead the State Bank. So let's take a deep dive. What is going on in the Pakistan's economy, Riaz? Let me take it over to you. Tell us this new appointment that has taken place in Pakistan. How do you see this?
I think there's a couple of angles that you can look at this issue from. One, the economic leadership that created the problem that Pakistan has of having a huge deficit, current account deficit, historic, larger than ever, about 40 to 50 billion dollars. That is almost 20% of the economy. It's huge. These people were part of that.
Which people?
The State Bank governor. He was a part of that economic team.
The one who was just fired?
The one who just got fired.
Okay.
And the FBR guy who was managing the Federal Board of Revenue.
So they led to this chaos?
This is part of the blame that's being placed on them. The other is that many of the PTI folks believe that these two were PMLN loyalists. They were appointed because they were loyal to the previous government.
Okay.
They came from the bureaucracy. In fact, the people who are speaking out most vociferously in support of these people are the old PMLN folks. Okay? You've fired very good people. The other issue I think that was important was that Hafiz Sheikh, after he came in, he did not want to use the same old team. He wanted to have a new team. And part of what is driving his choices, his decisions, is the deal that he wants to make with IMF to try and stabilize Pakistan's economy.
Okay.
So that is the reason why they decided to get rid of these two people.
So, a few days back, Najam Sethi, he was a very famous anchor person and a very famous political and economical analyst of Pakistan. He gave an example of Venezuela that has the highest oil reserves. One of the top high, I'm not sure if it's highest, but high oil reserves.
It's actually the largest.
The largest.
It's the same as Saudi Arabia.
So largest oil reserve in the world. But due to economic mismanagement, it led to an economic disaster. Would that happen in Pakistan?
I think Venezuela has, the real issue Venezuela has is that it has been challenging the United States for a long time. And obviously, United States is the big kahuna in the financial system. They own the world financial system. I don't know if any of you have read this book, the Economic Confessions of an Economic Hitman. He talks about how the United States operates. If anybody gets out of line, whether it's Iran, whether it's Venezuela, whether it's Cuba, they do everything to punish them. So no matter how much you have, Iran also has very large oil reserves. Look at what they've done to the Iranian economy. It's in deep trouble. Same thing to Venezuela. And Venezuela has also made mistakes. Obviously, it's not just one-sided. So I think the problems that Venezuela has have been terribly compounded by their hostile attitude toward the United States.
Okay, so you don't see any of that happening in Pakistan, the example of Venezuela. Could that happen?
Pakistanis never behaved, no Pakistani government ever has behaved like Chavez did or like Maduro is behaving right now.
Okay.
They're much more conciliatory. They never challenge the United States, almost never challenge the United States.
Okay.
If you want me to jump into that, Reza is absolutely right about the fact that when you talk about the world economy and how major third world players often get on the wrong side of the powers that be, these things happen. And in fact, I would point out to the two exceptions of Pakistani leadership who did start to get on the wrong side of Western powers and ended up actually in both cases losing their lives. One was Bhutto, the other was General Zia at the end. And that actually fits the model Reza is talking about, that when Bhutto started talking about nuclear power, or when Zia after the Cold War started going into areas that were not convenient to the West.
So
Reza's
hypothesis is the reason Venezuela, the reason of the Venezuela's economic disaster is mainly because of challenging U.S. That is his hypothesis.
Challenging the U.S. or rocking the world order as it stands.
Okay.
I remember thinking...
Are we saying that because Pakistan is not going to challenge U.S. in a similar manner, hence Pakistan will not get into the similar level of economic disaster?
Reza said that. I didn't.
Okay.
My point is that remains to be seen, is the phrase I'm looking for. The thing is, Pakistan right now, these issues are, as Reza pointed out, not just political. They are political and they are not just economic. They're economic and political. Right now, that geostrategic factor in Pakistan's existence that we talk about is very important. Pakistan is the site of the largest Belt and Road initiative from China, namely CPEC. On the other hand, Pakistan has an involvement in Afghanistan that the West, particularly the US, needs to keep Pakistan on side and help facilitate that.
The dialogue process.
Right. And those are actually, if you look at it, opposing things. So the thing is, in that political situation where Pakistan is on the one hand allying itself with Saudi Arabia and America, in one way, on the other hand, also trying to balance China, and that has always been the role of Pakistan.
So you're saying that because Pakistan's and US interests still converge, therefore US may not push Pakistan to an economic disaster.
Again, as you might see, I'm not dancing around it. What I'm saying is that we don't know yet.
We don't know yet, okay.
How this will turn out. These are all levers that everyone is. China needs Pakistan as a major linchpin in Belt and Road.
Okay.
America can use Pakistan as leverage to try to balance out Belt and Road. Pakistan historically, whether Pakistanis like it or not, whether Americans like it or not, throughout the Cold War and to some extent the War on Terror, Pakistan has been an American ally.
Okay.
For better and for worse, whether we like it or not, they like it or not, whoever we and they are. So the thing is, all of these variables are in play right now. Coming back to the IMF. Now, the IMF, looking at it as a person that feels ownership of the third world, the IMF has not always been a positive influence on the third world, right? And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is listen to speeches by Mr. Imran Khan, who has always been, up to the time he became Prime Minister, and a little after that, been railing against the IMF. The IMF comes in with their solutions. The most charitable thing you can say is that they have their idea of how a third world country is fixed.
Right.
And as I was saying on this show a long time ago, there's going to have to be some revolutionary, unusual thought on the part of a third world country to try to fix that problem. And to their credit, the PTI government has been trying to find creative solutions by reaching out to China, by reaching out to Saudi Arabia, trying to find other ways so that the dependency on the IMF is reduced.
As you mentioned, the deficit has been the highest in the history of Pakistan. Do you see that reducing? How do you see the next 1 to 2 years? Because people are going under a heavy pain at this point. People are being laid off, losing their job. The job market is not doing well. I've talked to several people who are working but not getting their salaries. Is being delinquent since last 6 months. So how do you see this?
I think things are going to get worse before they get better, particularly in terms of domestic economy. As you try and balance your external accounts, it's going to impact your domestic economy in the negative way. So there will be slower growth. Slower growth means people are going to lose jobs, or new jobs are not going to be created as many as you were expecting before. So there's going to be a lot of issues. But if you don't work out your external accounts, you're going to have much, much bigger problems. As we talked about last week, one of the most important commodities that Pakistan needs to import large quantities of is oil. If you don't have enough dollar reserves, if you don't have money to buy oil, your economy grinds to a halt. So we have to really be careful that we balance the things between the domestic and the external accounts economy. The external economy has to be balanced so that we don't have to get to the point where we cannot afford to make the imports that are necessary to run the economy.
Okay, audience listening, you have heard both of the analysts. Until next week, goodbye. But please do send us your feedback, your inputs, and we'll try to cover those. Until then, goodbye.